Hi there, thanks for tuning into the Weather Show with Vin Crosby here on YouTube. And thank you, first of all, for all the new subscribers. We have a lot of new subscribers, I think up over 10 in the last couple of weeks. So thank you for that. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button down below. And if you like this video, hit the like video. It helps the algorithm and helps get the message out for this first big storm of the season here in the Northwest. It is going to be a powerful storm. It should hammer California, southwestern Oregon. It'll really get into Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. It's going to really break apart as well. It's a storm system that's very complex. It's giant, first of all, but there are a lot of little different storm systems within that big circulation you see here behind. Real devastating travel weather forecasts, I think, are going to take place in almost every state that you see on the map behind me because of this storm system in one way or the other. And snow. Heavy snow is coming for the mountains in the Northwest. We'll let you know how much snow is coming to Idaho, Oregon, Washington, and the Sierra Nevada mountains. A tremendous amount of snow is going to be coming down there in the higher elevations. So let's go to those weather forecast models right now and check out and see exactly what is coming. First of all, you can see this storm system here. This is a pretty good circulation that's going on across much of the Pacific. Here, of course, is the Pacific Northwest back through here with Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. And then there's a big circulation up here by Alaska. Now, this is what we call an Aleutian low. There are two very permanent low pressure systems in the northern hemisphere. One is around Iceland, and one is around this Aleutian Island chain up here off of Alaska. This is one of the systems that is really dropping a little bit further to the south early on in the season and really intensifying this storm system. Notice these curls right in through here. There's almost like one there and then almost one here. Does almost like a little butterfly action, if you will. Those two systems are being picked up by the computer forecast models right now very nicely. And I think it's going to track according to the models. They're really in sync, and we are going to see this thing come through pretty much on the times that you'll see spelled out here with the forecast. Notice this big area of low pressure up here, the circulation kind of guiding the overall flow out here in the Pacific as this moisture surges on in towards the west coast areas. The other thing we're going to take a look at coming up, and keep watching the video, are the wave heights. Wait till you see how high those seas are going to get just offshore Portland and Seattle through the forecast. Let's go and take a look at some maps and check out how much rain and snow is coming for your area. Taking a look here at the big circulation, there's those little areas of spin. You can see them up there around the Alaska coastal areas and then back down here in the middle of the Pacific. Nice structure where those systems are split, or this system right in the middle is split. Also notice the flow here. The flow is pretty distinctive across much of the area. You can see this circulation kind of coming in here and then doing one of these numbers right up and through here and fanning out. And then back through here we see other ones as well. This is going to continue as we move on in towards the next 24 to 36 hours going on into Sunday morning. We'll see a tremendous amount of precipitation form. This system in through here with this double structure, this is what we're all concerned about, as this storm is really going to intensify right in through there, make its move right here to pretty much just offshore of the Columbia River, and then continue to intensify, spinning a lot of wind, rain, and snow back up in towards the western United States. This will make some pretty impactful precipitations amounts. Now, the precipitation, we've been in a drought out in the west. We had all those wildfires. There's a lot of areas that are barren. And then, of course, the hard, packed down ground, if you will. And with the soil packed down and you get a lot of water going in on top of it, that's when we're going to start to see some issues of runoff in steep terrain areas. And that's a concern that I have. Let's go and take a look at our first map. This model is one of the high resolution models. If we put it into motion, you can see very clearly that the storm system will be moving on in from tonight in through tomorrow morning, right across the Pacific Northwest. And then a very big veil of yellow moves across Idaho, northern Idaho, all the way back through Washington, Oregon, and it stretches back down in towards Nevada and the Sierra Nevada. Also notice, right along the coastal areas up there around Seattle and Portland, we are seeing spirals and bands of these heavy bands of rain that will be moving on shore. There will be a lot of wind that moves on in with it as well. So the timing of this, let me take you through the precipitation and the timing of it. If I go back towards the middle, this is pretty much going on in through the overnight hours, Saturday night, in towards tomorrow morning. This is Sunday morning, right around 6 o'clock in the morning, Mountain Daylight Time, 5 o'clock Pacific Time. Heavy rains moving on in across Washington, a very distinct line coming into eastern Oregon, back into northern Nevada. Notice the yellows, the oranges, and the reds in California. That's indication of very heavy rains moving in there. We are also going to see the tremendous amount of wind activity pretty much coming on shore at this point up around the coastal areas of Washington and Oregon. As we put this into motion, it looks like the heavy rains make their move in towards the Treasure Valley, back down through Boise and Mountain Home. This getting in to right around, say, 9 o'clock in the morning. Heavy rains coming down. If you're going to church, you will encounter some deluge and some ponding of water on the roadways. So watch out for the heavy rains and the puddles and the ponds that will form on the roadways Sunday morning. Notice this band of heavy rain coming on down across much of the Puget Sound, getting on down in towards a band of Yakima, all the way back down in towards Baker City. And then you see the heavy rains coming into Northern California, heading into the Sierra Mountains. With the rain coming in on the direction that it is coming in and hitting those mountains, the air is going to rise up the mountains like a ramp. It's going to enhance the rising air. It's going to really drown and drain out all the moisture in the atmosphere and bring it down towards the surface. We are going to see tremendous amount of rain and then snows in the extreme highest of elevations of the mountains, but it will be significant, as you'll see coming up when we get into those snow totals. This is the wind gusts expected across the region, and as you can see, we have a tremendous amount of wind that's forecast to come on through. As we go on in through the overnight hours of Saturday night, we start to see the winds pick up back across the coastal areas, and then when that rain comes through in the morning hours across the state of Oregon back into California and Washington, the winds get into that green shade, which is between 40 and 50 miles per hour. Notice the yellows and the oranges are back out there across the coastal areas down in southwest Oregon. And as we expand in time and go through the morning hours between 6 and 9 o'clock in the morning, back across Oregon, the higher elevations, we see some yellows starting to pop up. That's 60 miles per hour. And then watch out here back into the just east-southeast of that area of spin you see back out there in the top left-hand corner of the map. It almost looks like an eye of a storm, like a hurricane. And in a sense, it's going to be an extratropical hurricane with a lot of winds up near hurricane force back across the coastal areas. 65 to maybe 80 mile per hour winds coming on through. Also notice down around the Sierra Nevada mountains, some oranges there around Reno. Those higher elevations, that's where we'll see 60 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts in the higher peaks. Winds across much of the Treasure Valley, back on up in towards the mountains of Idaho, also getting into that 30 to maybe 50 mile per hour range when it comes to wind gusts as that system moves on throughout the day on Sunday. So a lot of water on the ground, loosening up things as it gets a little soupy. Maybe some trees start coming down with the high wind gust in some areas. So things we have to look out for the possibility of power outages. This one I wanted to show you just about how much rain was going to come in the region. We've been dry for quite some time. This is going to really help, but like I said before, with the ground kind of really hard from the summer and the dryness and this really heavy amount of rain coming in a short amount of time, we are going to see a lot of the runoff and steep terrain areas. So rock slides, mudslides, all going to be a possibility up around 55, 21 in Idaho, 95 going up into northern Idaho, and of course down along I-5 and then the Pacific Coast Highway. So watch out for that with this system as it presses on towards the east. So here's a precipitation in the shade. It starts off around 1/100 of an inch down here in Northern California overnight tonight. And then as we go in through tomorrow morning, we will start to see the rain pick up in intensity, but it really isn't going to be until mid-morning that we see that first wave of tremendous amount of rain move into California. That's when we'll start to see the 1 to 2 to 3 inches of rain totals start to pile up. The orange there that starts to pop up, that's up near 5 inches of total precipitation. In the higher elevations, of course, it'll be snow. Rain down across the Treasure Valley, you can see it kind of picks up going in towards the late to early morning hours. Into the mid and late hours of the morning, we start to see some light shades of blue in here. That's a 1/4 of an inch of rain getting up to a 1/2 inch, and then some greens up in the foothills. So some areas could see up to near an inch of rain going on into the early morning hours, early afternoon hours rather, on your Sunday. Some brighter shades start to pop up as we go through the afternoon hours into the evening hours, and a lot of green back up into the central areas of Idaho. Some yellows popping up. That's 2 to 3 inches of precipitation. And then back up in the higher elevations up around Hell's Canyon, you can see in those peaks there around 2 to 3 inches of heavy rains coming on through. Notice down around the Sierra Nevada, coastal areas of Northern California, just north of San Francisco, anywhere from 5 to 15 inches of rain starting now to total up in some areas. So tremendous, dangerous mudslides there along I-5, I-80. Watch out for those travel areas there in the California and southern areas of Oregon, northern Nevada, getting into it as well. As we go in through the overnight hours of Sunday night, going into Monday, we still see another wave of moisture coming on through, and I think this is now a good time to point that out. The system is going to split, right? So there's going to be a little bit of a split with this system, and this model here shows it very well. It shows the buckle in the jet stream back out here in the Pacific and dropping down. You can see that right in through there, and then as we put this into motion or move and take that forward, we see the double structure up there back to the northwest right in through here. And watch how that just kind of develops with several circles around that area of low pressure, and that's going to really bomb out. It's going to give us a very large intense storm just offshore of Seattle. But watch here, there's a little split from the circle, and then there's a little dip in the jet stream right in through here. That's going to allow more moisture to come on up from the southwest to northeast direction right across Idaho. And we see that back here a lot with our first loop. We see this split. Watch how it takes shape, it takes form with the system. We see a first wave of rain come in. It kind of tapers off around the afternoon hours on Sunday, and then a second wave forms and it fills in, and that green line gets a little solid going on up into Idaho. Do you see that there from the Sierra Nevada on up through? This is going in towards the overnight hours and early morning hours of Sunday night into Monday. So that's what we're seeing there with that system because of the split that is taking place right in through there. The European model bringing in the precipitation as well, pretty much in the same time frame as the computer model I just showed you before, which is a rapid refresh model. But notice those reds and oranges and yellows in there. If I bring the legend into play down here on the bottom of the screen, we see those pinks getting up to around 10 to 50 millimeters. That's anywhere from an inch to 2 to 3 inches of rain. Even some oranges starting to pop up back through here. This on your afternoon hours of Sunday. So that's a big wave of precipitation. You see it expands into the northwest. That purple area right in through here gets into Idaho. Tremendous amount of rain and snow across much of the I-5 corridor, back down through Washington and Oregon. And then here's that split again going in towards the overnight hours Sunday night and Monday. There's a line of nice precipitation stretching from Northern California right on up into the Magic Valley into Idaho into the mountains. By this time, colder air will have moved on into the overnight hours, and snow accumulations will get quite hefty back up in the higher elevations. We'll show you that here in just a second. So that system continues going on in through the afternoon, and look how slow that precipitation moves through central Idaho, finally tapering off to showers, it looks like, going into the afternoon, evening hours of Monday. But eastern Idaho getting rain, and Salt Lake City and northern Nevada, and back up into towards Seattle, another wave comes on through. So this is going to be a pretty active weather pattern to kick off this next upcoming week. Let's talk snow accumulation across the region, and it really starts to add up. You can see it firing up here across much of Idaho, back in towards northern Nevada. Look around the Cascades, and of course the Sierra Nevada. The reds and purples, well, that's 18 to 24 inches of snow, and you see some reds and oranges and purples start to pop up across areas of the Sierra Nevada, Idaho, and getting on up into the Cascades of Washington and Oregon. So check that out. That is a very nice shade of pink across those higher elevations down around the mountains of California. That's 24 inches of snowfall there, folks. In the Owahis, it looks like we got some blues, some oranges, and some reds. So anywhere from 3 to maybe 3 inches to a foot of snow back into the Owahis. And then the big winners will be up, of course, around Stanley and those higher elevations, up over 9,000 feet, 2 feet plus of snow coming on down. And then the snow gets into the mountains up there by Montana and the Idaho border. The Cascades getting into heavy snows, but the bullseye looks to be around Idaho, back down in towards northern California, central areas of California, around the Sierra Nevada mountains. So tremendous amount of heavy snows coming in those high mountain passes, which certainly will be closed down. European model doing the same thing with the snowfall as we go into, let's see, this is Saturday night into Sunday morning. There's Sunday morning and see the snow coming down in northern California, and then it picks up in intensity back across Idaho a little bit. And those are every 3 to 6 hours of snowfall accumulation, anywhere between 5 and 6 inches of snow in that time frame. And so the snow, that model is pretty much on there. So this is another model I wanted to show you, the latest afternoon run, and we'll show the precipitation in 6-hour increment across the Northwest here over the next 3 days. And you can see clearly here in the Northwest, the same structure of the precipitations coming on through. So with this time frame here, this is Saturday afternoon, this is Saturday night going into Sunday morning. We start to see that big band of rain come into northern California. The precipitation amounts are there on the left-hand side of the screen, from 1/4 of an inch here in the light green to the darker green, all the way on up to an inch where it gets in the blue, and then 3 inches as it gets in the maroon. The giant storm right up through here, the low pressure, several areas of pressure wrapped around it, those circles, that's isobars. The more isobars circle the low pressure, the stronger it is. So it is going to be a very, very strong storm system. And then you can see the heavy precipitation moving in by the afternoon hours of your Sunday, morning to afternoon hours, I should say. Darker shades of green, that's 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 inch of rain. So it's really going to come down in the morning, and then it's going to taper off some in the afternoon across Idaho, and then pick up in real high intensity up in the mountains. There's some blues in there, so we're going to see some 1/4 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch to 1.5 inches of precipitation coming down in the northern Idaho mountains, the Boise mountains. And then look at all that precipitation back across much of California, getting on up in towards northern areas of Idaho, back into eastern areas of Oregon. And there's a break in the action, of course, in the lee of the Cascades, so it dries out there. So this is going on into Monday morning. Precipitation still on and off in the middle of Idaho, just scattered showers back across the Oregon-Idaho border, and that slowly moves towards the east. So all models are in agreement there. The storm system really dives down to the south of California, getting into Los Angeles, getting into the southern areas of the state, and that will continue to drop a tremendous amount of moisture in a short amount of time in those high, steep terrained areas. So Interstate 5 down around California could have some mudslides, and then the high winds will be a problem as well. Speaking of those winds, let's go back and take a look at some of those wind gusts. So there's the total precipitation. There was our wind gusts there. Let's take a look at some wind gusts through here, because I thought this was pretty interesting when I first looked at it. So wind gust speeds, I'm going to come back out here a little wider along the coast, change the opacity a little bit so that you can see where we're at. There's Boise in here, Portland, Oregon, Olympia, Seattle, Medford, Oregon, Sacramento down through here. And so let's put on some of those wind gusts there. So this is going into tonight at 6. There's midnight, and you can see now the high winds start expanding towards the east. This is 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, just around southeast of Boise, winds up to around 41 in gust. Around the Harney Basin area here, this is around Medford, Oregon in the morning hours, 53 miles per hour. Along the coastal areas, 70 miles per hour. As we get down around the Cape Blanco State Park area, looks like that's 70 mile per hour wind gusts coming in there at the higher peak. So let's take a look at the winds now. The winds across the area, you can see around the Portland area, heavy amounts of winds coming on through, 32 mile per hour wind gusts. And this is around 6 o'clock in the morning on your Sunday. Medford, 55 mile per hour wind gusts, and winds just southwest and southeast of Boise, 41 mile per hour winds. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, extreme winds coming on through many areas up here by Kennewick and getting up towards the border of Oregon and Washington, 67-mile-per-hour winds there. If we come on in for a closer look across the region, Nampa and Caldwell should have some wind gusts up around 48 miles per hour. Of course, this is with heavy rains coming on down, so that's my concern. If it gets soupy, the ground gets wet and muddy, since then some trees may start to topple over in some of the areas. And check out in the higher elevations, up around 6,000 feet here, just around the Jordan Valley area into the Owahis. Wind speeds up over 60 miles per hour in some gusts. And that's, again, right around the time frame of the early afternoon hours of your Sunday. Winds will diminish a little bit, get a little lighter as we go into the afternoon and evening hours, but still going into 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening, winds starting to diminish then around the Boise River to around 30 miles per hour and some gusts, but a very cool, wet system nonetheless as this system continues to press on in towards the east. So there you have it. We have this potent, powerful storm moving on into the northwest. It'll continue to intensify over the next 24 hours, really explode into a very strong area of low pressure. This will again send the rain, send the snow, send the wind all at once pretty much back into the Pacific Northwest, but tremendous amounts of precipitation is going to be the story of this system. Back into the Sierra Nevada area and then down through California, tremendous flooding there. Oregon, Washington, not so much in the way of flooding type rains, but heavy amounts of wind along the coast, so your classic Pacific Northwest storm. And then back into Idaho, because that band of moisture is forecast to set up on a line from that California area all the way back to the northeast and just keep coming, and with a lot of intensity, we'll see a lot of heavy rains and snows in the highest of elevations of Idaho. Steep terrained areas, can't stress that enough. Rock slides, mudslides, 21, 55, watch out for that. Traveling up towards Baker City in those steep terrained areas, you could get into some issues there. Interstate 90, Interstate 80 is going to be pretty much shut down around Tahoe, I'm thinking, especially in some of those higher elevations when the snow starts to fly there. And we're talking several feet of snow in the Sierra Nevada and maybe up to 2 feet of fresh snow in the high peaks back up around the Stanley areas of the mountains above 9,000 feet in Idaho. It'll all move towards the east, so Salt Lake City, you'll get into it. Back into Wyoming, you'll get into it as well as this system continues to intensify and moves on into our region. Hey, let me know with the comments down below if you like this weather forecast. Let me know if there's something different you want to see with the weather forecast. And of course, I love giving you weather information. This is my 2 cents of my 30-year career of what I think is going to happen with this storm system. Pretty clear cut, though. This is a forecast that's pretty obvious of what's going to take place. You'll probably hear the same story in all different areas. So I really thank you and appreciate you taking the time to watch this video in its length. It's going to be the start, I think, of a very active winter here in the Pacific Northwest. And I'll be giving my annual winter weather outlook coming up probably in the next week or so. But until then, enjoy this video, share it with your friends and family. If you are traveling in the Northwest, be very, very safe and watch out for the flash flooding and rock slide potentials in those steep terrained areas, especially down around Northern California and down into the Sierra Nevada area. With this system moving on in, with some areas getting between 10 plus inches of rain in some of those dry areas where it's just going to run off the ground and cause flooding in several locations.